Thank you, everyone, for your patience tonight. I feel like an airline. We've left the gate late, but we're going to make up time in the air. Welcome to the September 26th Board of Education regular meeting. To kick things off, I'm going to call on Sophia Manavi to come lead us in the pledge and the other paraphernalia up there.
I'm Sophia Manavi. I'm a senior at the high school. So to begin, please stand up and put your right hand over your heart and face the flag and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. So, first we're going to read our mission statement. Our mission is educational excellence. Our vision: our students will realize their full potential to thrive with integrity in a complex, changing world. The BHUSD community acknowledges that in order to achieve educational excellence, we must act with integrity and respect for each other and our learning environment. Therefore, I pledge to model civil behavior and respect in all communications and in public, while maintaining a culture of honesty, listen and acknowledge the differences of opinion, do my part to protect an inclusive culture in which we honor the relationship between all school community members, and honor our learning environment, including how we take care of our schools and personal property. By holding ourselves and each other accountable to this pledge at all times, we will promote an environment of educational excellence that will allow our entire BHUSD community to thrive.
Thank you very much, Sophia. We will see you shortly. I'd like to make a motion. I knew you weren't clapping for me, so good job. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, removing items 10J, 11A, and I would like to move item 12 to after item 9.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Oh, I got to do roll call. Sorry. Maybe. Yeah. Ms. Marcus?
Yes.
Thank you. Sophia? Was that a yes? Thank you. Mrs. Wells?
No.
Mrs. Manicherry?
No.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion agenda is approved. 3-2. Thank you. Moving on to report of closed session action. Dr. Breggy?
Thank you, President Margot. I have 2 items to report this evening. The board has voted 5-0 to approve the settlement for student number 227-2001. And the board has voted 5-0 to approve the settlement for student number 164-0065. And that is all.
Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to you for the teacher-student spotlight.
Great, and I'm going to turn this right over to Mr. Drew Stewart. You can do either one. You can do. If you want to start with that. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Breggy and Board of Education, thank you for having us here tonight. We have a couple of people to recognize, or a couple of programs to recognize tonight. So we're going to start with Norman Aid. Our Norman Aid Wellness Center has been in existence for as long as I've been in the district, and I know when I arrived here as a teacher 7 years ago, I was blown away by what it offered our students at this school. It is a model for what a lot of other schools have tried to forge, and it has even provided a blueprint for other mental health and wellness centers in our district with the advent of Bulldog Egg this year. So Miss Norman Franks, who just walked in, I was hoping she was here. Miss Norman Franks does an amazing job. I would say that there is very few educators that you will ever find that work harder and go further above and beyond to make sure that all of the students at our school are taken care of. And so I'm going to turn it over to her in just a second to kind of talk about her program a little bit. But what I can say is that it is an invaluable resource to the students at this school, and it is something that we do not ever take for granted. And Miss Norman Franks is truly one of the best and brightest that we have here at our school in the way in which she is a fierce advocate for our students. And so I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce her program, and most importantly, to introduce her peer counselors.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. That was so nice. Okay, just got to make sure I can figure out how to do the presentation. Where's Josh? I told him to stand very close. Okay, so I first want to start by thanking our amazing board. I don't think you guys can see here we go. There it is. I want to thank our board. I want to thank our district office, and of course our amazing administrative team for supporting Norman Aid and really for supporting mental health. I have never felt the true passion and desire to help students as I have over the past years with our board members and our district, and I'm just very appreciative of everybody helping us to get a new wellness counselor, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we're really excited about that. So I just want to thank you from our entire wellness team. And our team consists of, now my new role and title will be wellness coordinator. And then we'll be hiring, next week we actually will having our interviews. So we'll be hiring another wellness counselor. And then we have 10 amazing peer counselors, which a few of them are here today. I'd like to bring them up so they can introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Mia Shapiro, and I'm a senior at Beverly, obviously.
I'm Sophia Manavi. I'm also a senior.
I'm Erin Scholler. I'm also a senior.
I'm Remy. I'm a junior.
I'm Chloe. I'm a junior.
I'm Shirley, and I'm a senior.
Wonderful. And this is Colby. She is one of my counseling interns who works very closely with me and the peer counselors. So in addition, we have 15 interns from the Maple Center that support us. So we have quite an amazing team, and we're so grateful for having our team. Okay, so I'm going to start with talking about our counseling services. So at Norman Aid, students are able to get short-term counseling, then get long-term counseling with the permission of their teachers, and we also offer group counseling as well as crisis management. And our team comes from the Maple Center, from LMU, from USC, from National University, and this year from UCLA. So students can request an appointment through our online system, which is really amazing. They can go on to normanaidrequest.org, and they actually can pull up the bios of all the counselors and their availability. So if a student was looking for a counselor on Tuesday, they could type in Tuesday, and they would see who's available. They could read their bio, and they can just request an appointment with whoever they feel comfortable with. They also now, with SmartPass, which is so amazing, they can just very privately in class ask a teacher to go to Norman Aid, and the students don't even have to hear them ask that. SmartPass has been really great for us too in Norman Aid because we can track now how many students are coming in for the mindfulness space, which the mindfulness space is a really wonderful opportunity for students just to come in and take a deep breather. 15 minutes can make such a difference in helping a student relax. They can hang out at our de-stress table or read a mental health inspirational book or just relax in a beanbag and listen to some music. But I think the biggest part of that is the students who may be resistant to go to Norman Aid, it's easier for them to ask to go to the mindfulness space. And a lot of times they'll sit there and they'll see kids come in, they'll see the friendly counselors, and then it makes it really easy for them to reach out and ask for help. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Shirley.
Hi, again.
So one of our goals this year is to attend PTSA meetings to share tips with parents on how they can keep teens safe. This month, our presentation will be on vaping. Another goal is to extend our education to BVMS. Right now, we are making videos for vaping and substance misuse prevention, and throughout the year, we will tailor to what is important for middle school students so it would be more meaningful to them. Later in the year, we hope to give these presentations to BVMS. And as peer counselors, we were lucky enough to be selected by the Los Angeles County of Education Tobacco Use Prevention Program, and we are working on preparing presentations about the effects of vaping. Hey there, Norman.
The tough part about mental health is...
Hold on, we just are going ahead a little. Okay, here we go. Go ahead.
As I was saying, we are excited to attend one of these conferences in February, and here's a video of last year's conference.
Today was our annual Youth Advocacy and Leadership Conference, where we invite 17 of our districts throughout LA County to participate in a day of youth leadership activities. We have over 400 students from these 17 districts. They went through a day of workshops where they learned everything from leadership, how to have healthy relationships, nutritional facts.
When someone is throwing up from the substance that they're on, you don't want to sit them up. You want to sit them to the side so that they don't choke. And that was a way that we could save their life.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting on how they taught us about all the different drugs and how people can abuse them so that we can keep our community and people safe.
So we believe this is important for LACO because it does a couple of things. It builds our capacity of our students to really be future leaders. It instills them the ability to have the understanding of I can make a difference in my community. We're working with 17 districts throughout LA County representing all of LA County demographics.
Okay. All right. I apologize for a minute. I just got to go back. I don't want to miss anything. Okay. All right,
So we have different monthly aid campaigns that are focused on different things that the peer counselors feel are very special and important. For example, the first month is Norman Well Lives Month, and on September we have Seek Support Month, really to get kids information on how to seek support. We kind of tailor it to what is going on that month. Like also October will be substance misuse prevention because of Halloween. There's lots of parties and stuff going on at that time. So these monthly aid programs, we kind of base everything we do around these monthly aid programs, the events we hold, what our podcast is based on, what Instagram we post is based on these monthly aid campaigns. And we also give everyone information on these monthly aid campaigns and what they can do to help themselves. And so every year we have the same monthly aid campaigns, but the peer counselors really decide what in that campaign is important to them and what they want to highlight and make special.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. You guys were at the bottom, so just gotta go back. You're talking about the Norman connection.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I got my slides mixed up. My bad.
Happens to the best of us.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second.
Do you want me to go first?
Is it this?
No, it was above here. Remember when?
So, when was above me?
No, you just talk about the Norman connection, basically. Share videos and emails.
Okay, so long story short, the Norman Connection is something that we do. We like to produce videos that us as peer counselors, we edit and make ourselves. And teachers are sent out an email link for our videos and they present them during class periods. So that's basically what it is.
And also on our Mental Health Tuesdays, so that's our main day for communication. So that's also a day that we share our monthly email. We share that the first Tuesday of the month. And here is a sample of our Norman Connection videos.
Hey there, Normans. Happy Mental Health Tuesday. I'm Shirley, a senior, and one of your friendly Norman Aid peer counselors. Guess what? Every month, Norman Aid launches campaigns all about mental health and wellness. These campaigns are all about making sure you and your friends are doing well. And for August, our theme is Norman Well Lived.
Hey everyone, happy Mental Health Tuesday. We are going to talk about something really important, mental health. We all experience ups and downs, and it's crucial to understand that mental health is a spectrum.
The key message of SOS is the ACT acronym. If you are concerned that your friend is depressed or thinking about suicide, think about ways to help them, including the tool ACT.
Remember, we're all somewhere on the mental health spectrum, and it's okay not to be okay sometimes. By supporting each other and seeking help when needed, we can create a community where everyone feels valued and understood.
So let's keep the conversation going and be there for one another. Let's continue to educate ourselves, spread awareness, and show kindness to everyone, no matter where they are on the mental health spectrum.
Hey everyone, happy Mental Health Tuesday. October is our Substance Misuse Prevention Month. Throughout this month, we're going to take a closer look at some substances that teens are often influenced to try, like alcohol, vaping, fake pills, and the dangers of fentanyl. Today, we're going to talk about how substances can affect our brains, bodies, and the dreams that we're chasing.
First, what is substance misuse? It's the use of alcohol, drugs, or other substances in a way that's harmful or risky. As teens, we're especially vulnerable because our brains are still developing, making us more prone to addiction and its adverse effects. Here's a great video that explains the variety of changes our bodies go through until the age of 25.
All right, so then they would get to see a video.
Hey there, Normans. Happy Mental Health.
Hi. So every month we have our Make Today Live podcast that correlates with our monthly AIDS theme. We create these podcasts to bring awareness to mental health, but also educate others, and then the peer counselors can also learn things as well. I posted 5 of them, and I've just learned so much from the guests, and the PE classes also have access to them to show their students. We've had guests like Martin Luther King Jr.'s goddaughter, the owner of La La Land Cafe, and the founder of Mad Happy. We also show a small podcast clip in the Norman Connection so that students can still watch it.
So here is a sample of our podcasts.
The tough part about mental health is like everyone's like, oh, like I'm the only one who's like feeling like this, so like I can't talk to anyone about it. Versus like when you talk in a group, like everyone's had so many experiences that are so similar. So
and that's what we were saying earlier, is that I really do believe that everybody is carrying something. Yeah. And just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean they're not carrying it.
The whole model is not to ever get anybody in trouble. What we like to do is if there is any substance misuse that we feel is becoming problematic, we want to guide the client through that and be a support to them. And if that means that we do have to talk to parents at some point, we want to help them make that decision for themselves, and we also want to be a support and create a team around them.
The tough part about mental health is like.
So every Wednesday we have different we have Wellness Wednesdays where we post on Instagram different tips and things from peer counselors, teachers, students on how they can feel better, different things like that. And then we have lunch activities that we do once a month. Our lunch activities are based around our monthly aid campaigns. We do, and the purpose of these events are really to get people comfortable with Norman Aid, for them to come into Norman Aid. They can see the space, they can see how great it is, really educate them on mental health, but also get them more comfortable with Norman Aid as a whole.
Okay.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, no one will be afraid.
Dr. Breggy said more dogs. And yes, they will be coming.
Okay. So, October is our Substance Misuse Prevention Month, and is a very important month for students. One of the programs we are running this month is the National Red Ribbon Week, which is a week full of drug and alcohol prevention programs. We will end the week with Halloween and give Norman trick-or-treats a bag of red candy and a handout with tips for safety for a safer Halloween.
Shirley, you already did that. Yes. That's good. Okay.
There are numerous resources available through Norman Aid. Our constantly updated website is one of many resources. You could see all of our emails as well as photos from events and the Norman connections that the peer counselors make. By using the website, students can schedule appointments to speak to a Maple counselor, and additionally, there are services and informations for parents to access.
And follow our Instagram as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, peer counselors. You guys are awesome. So, and I'll go really quick on this last part. So every month we do wellness lessons in collaboration with our amazing PE teachers. So we're able to show our podcasts. We bring in incredible guest speakers. So we're able to hit about half of the school. So we get our freshmen and sophomores. Unfortunately, we don't get the kiddos in athletics, but that is one of our goals, is to be able to reach out to them. And in support of Mr. Seaman's efforts to get our counseling department RAMP certified, we are now going to be doing pre and post surveys with the students. And this will be helpful for us too, just to make sure what our goals are in the presentation are being reached to the students, and will help us tailor if it feels like there's something else we need to be sharing with them to make sure they're getting learning what's most important. And with the efforts of our peer counselors, our Maple counselors, our entire team, and with all the different programs, we really have been able to lower the mental health support stigma. And it's allowed us to, on average, we are able to counsel about 350 students, and that's individual sessions every month. And then with the peer counseling programs, with the Norman Connection, we reach the entire student body. And then with our mental health education, we reach about 500 students every month. So we're just constantly educating students about how to seek support and help. And none of that would be possible without all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Allie.
You want to go?
What?
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to say one quick thing. The work that and I know they just left, but the work that our peer counselors do is immeasurable in terms of trying to bring the awareness and destigmatizing receiving mental health help for our students. It's truly tremendous. And so if you ever see them again, please make sure that you give them a shout out and thank them, because the work they do is amazing. The other reason we are here tonight is to celebrate one of our incredible teachers, and this is Miss Jennifer Goolsby. So if you wouldn't mind coming up here while I say some nice things about you. I just called her Miss Goolsby, sorry. Miss Jennifer Hegley, Old Habits Die Hard. Yeah. So Dr. Breggy, Mr. Seaman, and I were able to attend a wonderful luncheon on Friday at the Universal Hilton with Miss Hegley and her children to celebrate her as the BHUSD nominee for the Teacher of the Year. So she is the Teacher of the Year award winner for our district, and we were able to go and celebrate her with all of the teachers from the other school districts around LA County, and it was amazing. And the reason why she was chosen this year, among many different things, and I'll just kind of explain a little bit of who Jennifer is, but she's been a math teacher here, I think this is year 17 years, came to us from the South, and has found her home here over the last 17 years. In addition to teaching math, she's been an ASB advisor And when she was an ASB advisor, she was a major champion for trying to get all of our students on campus and involved in programs and activities that sort of build them up and also get them connected to the school. In addition to that, she's also taught some of our math classes for students and I would count myself among them, people that are not the biggest fans of math. And this is incredibly important. And not only does she get them eligible to graduate through the work that she does with these students in that math class, but she actually gets them excited about math, and I've seen her do that by bringing in a variety of different things. It really is amazing. So she's an incredible math teacher. But in addition to that, a few years ago, Mr. Seaman approached her about creating a coding pathway here at our school, which she has done over the past several years, building out a complete coding pathway for students that are interested in that aspect of sort of computer engineering and things like that. And it's really taken off. And not only that, but she's gotten our school recognized, and I wrote this down because I don't want to screw it up, but gotten our school recognized in 2020 as an AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award, because not only is she trying to bring women into STEM, she is a constant advocate for trying to make sure that we have lots and lots of diversity in all of these classes and access for all of our students, not just the ones that we might think would typically be involved in this type of pathway. So coding, AP Computer Science, these are all things that she's been doing in addition to the teaching of math and the ASB over the past 17 years. And so it is for all of these reasons and many more, including the fact that she's just one of the kindest people you'll ever meet, one of the best teachers, and one of the fiercest advocates for students that we have on our campus. We recognized Ms. Hegley this year as our BHUSD Teacher of the Year. So another gift.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any comments on Mr. Stewart's little hijacking of my meeting?
I'll keep it brief. I've never had the pleasure of having Miss Hegley as a teacher myself personally, but the number of friends I have who have had her and have raved about her classes and just express so much joy going to her class and talk about her class as being the highlight of their day and their schedules is endless. And I think our district is so lucky to have her.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think I can top that, spoken out of the mouths of babes, but I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you're making this accessible for all of our students, especially for our girls. And I really appreciate and respect everything that you're doing, and we are so lucky to have you, so thank you very much.
Thank you again for joining us. It was nice to have you not too long ago presenting on your program. And so it's really nice to see that circle out. And your program, is just known to be a shining star and something that includes so many of our kids, and they look forward to it. So thank you for that. And also to the Norman Aid team, thank you so much for joining us. Your energy and your enthusiasm and your strive to always just do more and better for the kids, I think is a common theme with Mrs. Hegley. So I'm glad that you're all here back to back, and we appreciate the care that all of you give to our students. Thank you.
Mrs. Marcus, any comments? Dr. Stern?
Thank you so much. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, and we're just so pleased to have you. And you're a role model not only for young women, but for teachers as well. And as people enter this profession, I hope that they aspire to be as passionate and skilled as you are. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't see that I was muted. Just want to congratulate Mrs. Hegler on that wonderful award. And I can't wait for some of the kids that have had her, to some new students that will get her. And I'd like to compliment the amazing presentation by the Norman Aid Wellness family and what's going on there. I've always known about it, and I'm glad that they're still continuing to spread the word and that our students will take advantage of it. So again, congratulations to our Beverly Hills High School Teacher of the Year, and to the Norman Aid Center.
Thank you. Allie, thank you for the presentation. Jennifer, you actually preempted your own episode of Now No One Knows tonight, so I think you're the only person that can do that to yourself. So thank you very much.
I'd also like to just thank Norman Aid for coming here, and Allie and all of our peer counselors. As you know, I'm a big fan of this program, and I think our mental health and wellness is so important for everyone in our school district in particular, but you just do such an extraordinary job in this program. It is so comprehensive. I've always enjoyed watching it. I like all the different mediums that you're using to reach out to all of our community. And I just want to say in particular that the peer counselors are really essential. And I really appreciate the work that our peer counselors are doing, because it's really you that are going to really create that message for your peers to be able to talk about mental health and to really normalize that. And it's an essential role in this program. So thank you, and please continue to do that. And I can't talk about Norman Aid without also acknowledging Michael LeBeau and all that he contributes in sponsoring the programming for this. So I'm really grateful for him to do that as well. So thank you very much.
Dr. Breggy.
Just really quickly to Mrs. Norman Franks, thank you so much for the presentation, for their peer counselors for being here. I think I've learned more about your program within the last couple of months than I have in almost 8 years. And so thank you for taking that time to meet with us so that we could get a better understanding and kind of a sneak preview, kind of a peek into what your day is like every day. So thank you very much for that. Ms. Hegley, congratulations. And just a specific example that Mr. Stewart had mentioned, just the advocacy for your students. Just to give you an example of that, during your recognition luncheon, in the middle, you get up and you move and you sit right next to me and you said, I need to talk to you about something. And it was advocating for 2 students. So exactly what you said is during your own recognition that is who you are. So thank you for that. And from one math teacher to another and to your math colleagues out there, congratulations. We're so proud of you.
We'll just keep it rolling there, Dr. Breggy, with more recognition.
Great. And we're just going to need just a second to get the presentation set up.
Silence is deafening.
Yeah, I can just go ahead and get started. I'll set this up. I've spoken a lot about our Behavior and Accountability Advisory Panel Group. As many of you know, last year, at the very end of the year, we had a lot of discussion about student behavior, what was happening in our classrooms, but also what was happening in our community as well. And there were several high-profile incidents that were happening. And so we wanted to really take a look at meeting with our community and with our parents at a different level. We wanted to have conversations that we haven't had the opportunity to have before. This is not a committee that is typical of any school district, and we knew that. We wanted to take some risks We wanted to have some conversations and make some decisions about communication, and also to take kind of a deeper dive into what school discipline looks like in our classrooms and also in our community. So we put out an application to see who would be interested in joining our team, and we were overwhelmed with the number of people that wanted to join our team. What really made this work for us is the people that applied, and we really spent a lot of time looking at the applications because we wanted to make sure that people that were part of this team, that there was some value added, that people would participate and they would contribute. And the one thing that I had said on the first day is that this is not just going to be a committee to check the box to say that we had one. And I assured the group that that's not why we would be meeting on Mondays throughout the entire summer. And I also said that this is the type of committee that the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it, and that what we will be able to get out of it. And we were very pleased with the results that we had. So before I go into some of the findings and some of the things that we're working on and some of the things that we're exploring, I do want you to, as I've been talking about the updates of this committee, I want you to see the people that were able to come tonight. I'm going to read all the names, but I do want, if you're here, please to come up, and we have a certificate for you. And we really want to recognize you, not only for your time, but the contributions that you had. It was a small but mighty group. The expectation was high to be involved, to review the materials, and to provide recommendations. And so there was a lot of work that was put into this committee, a lot of discussions, and the output is something I'll share with you in just a few minutes. But I do want to sincerely thank, with high gratitude and just personal thanks from all of us for spending time and giving us this information that I'm going to share tonight. It's kind of our next steps for what's going to happen throughout the school year. The first person on our team, if you'd please come down, is Mr. Aaron Reitman. Elena Castanon. Amy Sherry. And just kind of hang down here for a second. Andy Barron. Mr. Bugby. Donna Triffman. Drew Stewart. Ellie Samadi. Erica Maitland. Gina Raphael. Carrie Marlowe. Dr. Kelly Scahn. Of course, Laura Collins-Williams, who's already down here, Dr. Malini Saba, Mr. Mark Mead, Chief Stainbrook, Dr. Michelle Yarshapur, Niku Imrani, Patty Acuna, Dr. Parisa Levidan, Rabbi Joseph Shamash, Kevin Bemmel, Dr. Rochelle Hakak, Rebecca Starkins, Sarah Halsey, and Sarah Kaber. And also, while we're getting this group together for a quick picture, we also want to thank the Beverly Hills Police Department. They are they housed us. They put us in a conference room. It was ideal to meet there as we were having some guest speakers, and it provided a different venue for us than a lot of our when we have school events. So it kind of changed the vibe a little bit of our conversation. So, Ms. Starkins, I don't know if you wanted to try to get a picture. Like, where would you like to do that? Or in the front?
Well, help. Come on, people. All right. There we go. Follow along. Come on, teachers. We're all teachers here. Everyone moving down. Can we join you?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes.
I always call. Squeeze in.
I get mine. Yes. We're scooching. How much scooching are you doing? Pretend like it's the last pictures. Everyone scooch in. Scooch in. Teresa, come over. Very assertive. More?
Do we hold these up like this?
Do we want more board members over here?
You got us all?
Do you mind?
When you're ready, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone. But wait, there's more. Don't leave me hanging, Dr. B.
The important things. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the work that was involved and the next steps with our committee. The charge that we had was to review our data practices, the standards, the policies. Essentially, we were looking at how do you look at school discipline and support staff and our teachers in the classrooms, but also there is this kind of nebulous area. There's this area when things happen outside the classroom, and you're looking at what this nexus is between what happens in the community and how that then could work back into the school environment. And to be perfectly honest, things have really changed. I mean, we were at a point back a long time ago when I was teaching where if it didn't happen in school, it really was left as that the school doesn't get involved. Now the laws have changed, support has changed, and unfortunately, oftentimes when something happens in the community, that nexus is that it is impacting that student when they come back in the classroom. And so we looked and we took some time looking at this information. The information that we needed to get everybody up to speed on was the current board policies that we have in place in BHUSD, but also our school handbooks and the Education Code of California. So we spent a lot of time looking at that information. We had to look at the unique challenges in our own community. The behavior in and out of school, consideration for what are we looking at, what's considered to be discipline, what are consequences, how do we then look at student discipline to correct the behavior. We had our school attorney, our district attorney, Jabari Willis, come and speak to us about what that nexus is, because it's a difficult one, it's a changing one, and it isn't often something that just jumps out at us, that's something that we should handle. There's a lot of gray area. And also we had a lot of time with Chief Stainbrook, who was actually a member of the committee, but then also provided a lot of what was happening in the community. And for us, what was really interesting was to learn about the information sharing that we can and cannot do when it comes with student information and student privacy. We had different groups to share big ideas of what was happening. And for us, what was great is that this panel consists of people with differing professions. And so that expertise, we were able to have that collaboration from people with different backgrounds in their work experiences and also with their own students and their students' friends. And this brought such great conversation. We really could have met for the rest of the year. That's how much material there is. That's how many conversations need to be having. We were able to kind of synthesize all of our information. We did a lot of sharing as a group. We had proposals. We had recommendations that were provided. We shared that information in a specific format. That information was then shared with the full team. So people that were making their recommendations had an opportunity to share their big ideas. And it was our job as the school employees to look to see what can we implement and what can we not. So we had the panel rank these recommendations, and then those submissions were prioritized, and we rank them and put them into a concise format. This is just an example for you just of all of the different recommendations. So starting at the very top, you will see the systemic behavior data collection. This was ranked the highest. This was something that everybody wanted to see as something that we're looking at changing, implementing new policies. This was the highest. And then it goes all the way down to school uniform implementation. So we basically wanted you to see just the range here of what was being recommended, how it was ranked. So from the highest ranking to then the lowest ranking. And to kick us off, to go over with you and share with you some of the information that we are implementing this year, and that's what's important for you to realize. There are some things that we are implementing this year. We're excited. You could see that there's a lot of yeses there. Then there's also some ideas that are exploring, because we received this information a month and a half ago, and there's more work that needs to be done in this area. You may notice that in a couple of areas you see yes and you see yes. And it's because we've already started, because we believe that we have to get a jump on several of these items. So it's yes that we're implementing, but we're still exploring some additional ideas. These are pretty massive, big ideas. This is not a one size fits all. It's going to take a lot of developing, but I just wanted you to see that we're going to share with you quickly just what we're implementing, and then those areas that need a little additional work, but that we certainly have interest in looking further.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Breggy. So the first area that I'm going to talk to you about is the system. Uh-oh, don't take it down. Hi, pretty. Okay, is the systematic or systemic behavioral data collection. So what does that mean? So the way that we broke this down is we included what the concerns of the panel were. So as you can see, the first 3 or 4 bullets, we had concerns about how the data is being collected, how we're analyzing the data, if we're using it to make informed decisions, and if we're actually making meaningful changes within the district. So we had a conversation about this as a leadership team, and we came up with district-wide procedures that have been established for all of our administrators who enter behavior data into ARIES. So we have a uniform process that started before school started on August 14th. We actually talked about this on our leadership conference in July, because we also were aware that we didn't have the data that we needed available to us to make informed decisions. So we have a uniform process. Every school in the district is entering data in the same manner, meaning if a student is suspended, it's recorded a certain way and it's entered in a certain area in ARIES. That way we know later on, if we want to go back and look at it and say how many students were suspended for fighting, we're able to run a report and pull that data. Also starting next month at our monthly leadership team meetings, that's the meeting where all of the leadership teams, which includes our principals, assistant principals, Dr. Breggy, all of the assistant superintendents, we meet once a month together as a team. We will be spending time reviewing that data at that meeting. We'll be looking at the trends. We'll be looking at the information site by site. And then principals and assistant principals will take that data back to their school sites and share it with their staff at the school sites as well, so that we're all aware of what's happening. Nope. Thank you, Mr. Guzman, for the ad lib. Finally, this is the most exciting part, and Dr. Breggy is going to talk about this a little bit later. I'm sorry, I'm the kid in the class who always got in trouble, as you can tell. Dr. Breggy will be talking about this later. We're going to have a forward-facing communication regarding what we are seeing as trends in our behavioral data for the community coming soon. So you'll be able to see what's happening at your site as well as across the district, because it's important that we all have the same information, because we're working together. They're all our kids. They're with us 6 or 7 hours a day, and they're home with you the rest of the time. So we need to know what's happening. So We're really excited about that. Dr. Breggy will talk more about that later, but the data nerd in me is very happy about being able to see this information. We are also looking at this information regarding attendance as well, and we're keeping data on that on a daily and weekly basis. All right, the next one. So we're still talking about behavior. What are the expectations? How do the kids know what they're supposed to do? We have all of our expected behaviors for each site. All the kids know that, but how come they're not doing it? What do we need to do to bring this home for them so that they know when they're at school how they're supposed to act? So it's a combination of engagement and also uniform behavioral expectations. So what are we going to do about that? And parents, what do you know? How do you know what your child is expected to do when they're at school or out in the community? So we are working in conjunction with our site administrators to develop a district-wide student discipline code. This is and it's going to specifically address the goal in our strategic plan to discuss and identify both classroom managed behaviors and administrator managed behaviors. So we have a draft going. It's a draft, but there are things there, but we're going to add additional areas such as district-wide expected behaviors, meaning what does it mean to be a BHUSD student? Whether you're on campus, whether you're walking to school, whether you're on Beverly, whether you're at the football game, if you're on a bus, all together, so that anywhere you are, you know what the expectations are for your behavior. This screen, I know it's hard to see. I'll talk through it a little bit, but this is a draft of the actual plan that we're developing. So the green, yellow, and red are different levels of behavior. The green would be classroom managed responses. So this is something that a classroom teacher would respond to. And these are actual interventions, maybe changing a child's seat, a verbal warning, review of the expectations. Yellow and red are administrative managed behaviors, and these are also interventions that can occur through the administrator. And it has things such as a conference all the way through suspension. But if you look to the right where it says undesired behaviors, if you see the green, yellow, and red, this is going to be how we respond to these different types of things. Again, the purpose is transparency and communication. So if you're the parent and you know that your child has excessive tardies, you know what will happen, or you know kind of the range of what could happen. If you're the parent and you have a child who's engaging in bullying, you know what the possible consequences will be. So this will also be available to both staff and parents as we move forward.
I was going to say, Raphael, you can stay, but your watch can go. Thank you.
I think you're in yellow. No, not for him. The other thing is that we have is something that we're piloting at BVMS right now. Dr. Scott and I had a conversation over the summer, and we were saying, what can we do to help support our kids who need a little bit more intervention, but not have them out of school or missing school? So we had a great conversation, and she ran with it, and she took it and developed it. It's our alternative to suspensions classroom. So we're piloting this year at BVMS. We hope to have one at each school. What is that? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the wrong thing. I apologize. This is the behavior pledge. Sorry, Dr. Scott again, though. So this is another aspect or another example of behavioral expectations. So one of the can you hear me? Okay. One of the advisory panel's recommendations was to have a behavior pledge, kind of like we have the pledge for the district. So Dr. Scott said, that sounds like a really good idea. We're going to start that this year at BVMS. So what you're looking at is an actual copy of what every student and parent signed at orientation this year at BVMS. So it goes through their 4 core values, their expected behaviors, and excuse me, and each student and parent signed it, and they are expected to follow this. And if they don't, then they have other steps that they take to remind them of what they signed and how we can get them back exhibiting the expected behaviors that we'd like to see. Another recommendation was a discipline and review board or team. So again, great minds think alike. A couple of things that we had planned already that really fell within this and worked well with this recommendation is that we are reinstituting our school attendance review and district attendance review teams. So you say attendance, what does that mean? Well, within there is room through the Ed Code to also review behavior. So these teams will be reviewing attendance and behavior for the most chronic offenders. And as we know, usually attendance is sometimes mostly related to behavior as well. That's a behavior and it's a communication as well. So these teams will start at the school site, and then if need be, it will move to the district, and then the district team will review it. We have at the district level, we have administrator from each site. We have Officer Maitland. We have Donna Triffman, and school psychologist, marriage and family therapist, and I said administrators from each site on this team. So we'll be able to really have good conversations and try to find out what's happening with our students and also connect them with resources to help intervene. The other piece is that there's ongoing collaboration between the Student Services Department, which is my department, and each school site regarding attendance, suspensions, and behavior. That's the data that I was talking about and referencing earlier. Okay, somebody else's turn.
So I'll go through this pretty quickly here. There are concerns up here coming from the panel, coming from not understanding policies, not understanding the current California Ed Code, lack of community involvement. You'll see students don't know what to do, don't know where to go, parent involvement. And so we spent a lot of time talking about what these concerns are. And the one thing that really the takeaway from this is, and I was really proud of the panel, is that we have to have parents that are engaged in the student discipline aspect. This is a really important part. And so a couple of action items that I'm just going to point out from this list here is that we do need more of a campaign, communication campaign, creating more opportunities. We have Parent University at BVMS, and that grows. We're having more parent universities at our schools, but there is an education piece and a need for an education piece. And so we'll be providing more of those opportunities throughout the school year. We've had conversations about alternatives to suspension and giving parents options when it comes to student discipline. Creating a small window for posters, placed in the community, and I'll kind of tell you a little bit about that in just a second. One of the biggest takeaways that I had from this panel and then meeting with our parents through the PTA president's meeting is that parents weren't really sure what some of the issues are that are happening throughout school. We did make a decision a couple of years ago when I was meeting with Ms. Starkins, and we had communications that were going out. When incidents happened at each of our schools, we sent communication just to that school and to those parents. And we got some feedback right away that said, look, we're a small school district, and if something is happening at one of our schools, there are other parents that want to know about it. And so, because what was happening is through some of the chats, misinformation was being presented. So we made a decision a couple of years ago, which I think was one of our best communication decisions. And that was that we share that communication, if it's happening at one school, with all of our community, all of our staff. Based on that positive feedback, we can't do this without the parent and community support. And so here is kind of an example of something that's going to go out later in the week. That's numbers, not noise. So it's not the noise that you're hearing in chat rooms about people speculating about what they heard, that we're actually going to share with you really important data and actual data. Because our parents said to us over and over again, if you have a problem that's happening in our schools, we have to know about it. Okay? One of the examples that I'll just tell you that we're having, which we'll be providing some more information, is that students are creating fake accounts, which make it almost impossible for us to discipline. And so the amount of time that our schools are spending doing investigation, it is absolutely nonstop, because there are actions that are happening that are very, very difficult to investigate. Not impossible, but they're difficult to investigate. And so we're going to be sharing with parents that is a problem that we're having in our schools, is that kids are creating fake accounts and then using those fake accounts to then share information that is false, or to share opinions, or to humiliate or to bully other students. And so we're aware of that happening, and there are some pretty severe consequences for that happening. But I can tell you the main thing I want to get across by sharing this information with you is that we can't do it alone. We can't just handle it on a case-by-case basis. We are taking a risk by doing this. A lot of school districts, I don't know another school district that's doing this. I think that a lot of school districts are always worried about their PR and I'm just worried what people will think. But we're at a point where we have to get your help. And so we're going to be sharing the numbers with you. So the number of bullying incidents that are happening. And as Mrs. Collins-Williams had pointed out earlier, we've really tightened up. From every school is going to be collecting this data the same way. We're going to share that out to you. It's very transparent. There's a bit of a risk here, but parents want to know how to help us. We're going to share this data with you. And as far as our staff members, this is definitely information that we want you to be aware of holistically, so that you can see, how can I help if I don't know what the problem is. And so we're going to be sharing that information with you, as well as even just chronic absenteeism. Those students, the number of students. We're going to be careful that we follow all the legal laws when it comes to student privacy. However, sharing this with you to say we have a problem and this is the area that it's in, then that's your cue to then take that and help us in that area, because just about everything now is finding its way back into the classroom. Another great part about our group is that we had business owners. We had people that are involved with establishments on Beverly Drive. And so this was an opportunity for us to say, based on conversations, what can we do that's similar to like the Neighborhood Watch? And so we want to connect with our businesses. Our businesses want our students to come in. They welcome our students to come in, but you have to behave appropriately. You are a reflection of BHUSD, and a student is in BHUSD coming into these establishments, that we're going to be working with the Chamber of Commerce based on our conversations to establish having a small area of a window to put up like a neighborhood watch, so that our pictures are up there, and most importantly, a way to contact us. So and I know it's small to see here, but we want to be able to work with the Chamber of Commerce to say, look, if you are having an issue after school, and let's say, it's a Chipotle by chance, and that we can then reach out with the manager there to then determine what happened. And so we have a special email here, neighborhoodwatch@bhusd.org, because we have a great partnership with our city. And so our students, we are all part of our students' lives and what they do and how they represent themselves. And so this is just another way to be able to reach out to our businesses to say, look, stay in contact with us about our students. And if you're seeing something great, because we hear all the success stories too, let us know, But if there's a concern that's happening, then we want to be able to hear about it, because again, it eventually comes back into the classroom. And I think that's yours.
And I was saying that's also tied into the district-wide behaviors that we're going to establish across the board. All right, so social emotional wellness, in the advisory panel, we called it social emotional influences. This is a great night to have that, since we had our model here earlier with the Norman Aid Center. The concern is that we are not having extensive social emotional education for our students at elementary. So what are we going to do about that? We're looking to have a version of Norman Aid and Bulldog Aid at both of our elementary centers. So we're going to have elementary aid wellness centers for Horace Mann and Hawthorne, with the focus on implementing skills and working with our kids at an age appropriate level to bridge academics and mental wellness and mental health. So that's huge. It's needed. We have kids in 5th grade dealing with things today that, I didn't deal with in high school. So it's needed, and it's been a area that has been lacking. We do have SEL lessons that happen, but we need to expand it. And so we heard the committee, and that's what we're exploring for this year. Now, the alternative to suspensions class. Another way to teach, to bridge both academics and behavior for our middle school students. So this year at BVMS, we're piloting the alternative to suspensions class. And basically, this is for a child who actually is eligible to be suspended. However, we want to keep them in school and work with them to talk about why they were suspended, what's happening, what's causing that behavior, and to also make sure that they're not missing instruction, academic instruction. So what you see here is a sample schedule from a day in the alternative to suspensions class, and I'm happy to report that this is actually up and running. I spoke to Dr. Scon earlier, and we have a few students in there this week, and we're monitoring to see how it goes. I really want to point out, if you look at 9:45 to 11 o'clock, we're actually working with a social emotional learning curriculum, and their students are also going to be having access or being interfaced with our marriage and family therapist and our school psychologists who are there as well. So again, figuring out what is the reason that they're having these behaviors that are eligible to make them be suspended, but trying to keep them in school and teach them how to be there, and also having them have access, because sometimes being out of school is a reward, and that's the behavior that you continue to exhibit because you want to be out of school. No, we're going to figure out why you're doing that and keep you here and make sure you're being educated.
Good evening, everybody. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Rebecca Starkins, and I am the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives. And that little last section that was added not so long ago is really a great way for us as a district to connect with all of the incredible resources that we have throughout the city. And one of the amazing parts of working with this panel throughout the summer was everybody had a different perspective in their area of expertise, but also as a resident or as someone who works in the city. And especially Commissioner Sherry, who's here tonight, brought a different perspective of what could we do with our city partnerships that we already have in place to maximize them and to grow them. And from there, all of these different ideas came from different panelists. And I just love that, because one of my favorite parts of my job is being able to reach out to these different entities and work with them. So one of the recommendations was, again, around communication, right? So this is something that we've made great strides in, but we can absolutely improve, and we need to make sure that what is the city doing and what is the school district doing? And when are they celebrating Jewish Heritage Month and when are we celebrating it? And although we know it's the same month, are we doing an activity on the same day? Could we be doing an activity on the same day? Should we be doing an activity on the same day? So what I did at the beginning of this year is I reached out to our partners at the city, both Patty Acuna and Magdalena Davis and many other incredible city partners, and said, do you have activities or events or a calendar for your entire year that you could let me know what is going on? What is going on that might impact our school district? And what is going on with you that you think maybe has nothing to do with our school district that I could look at and say, I think that might. So I put in all of these calendar events into our internal district calendar. And one of them was like the Golden Globes, and you might think, oh, that's not relevant. And some of them were JPA activities, and you might think, oh, well, that doesn't matter. But now what it gives us the opportunity to do is for all of our principals and assistant principals, for our cabinet, our leadership team, when they're making plans and they're saying, okay, when do we want to have the carnival? When do we want to have that event? When do we want to have the play? All of these things that maybe we don't have dates for yet. And we check the calendar and we not only see, oh, BVMS has something on that night, so we're not going to put it on that night. Oh, actually, the city has something on that night. And so many of our parents are also residents and want to go to that city event too, right? So this is just one area. I'm not going to run through all of these. You all have the ability to read this after this meeting takes place. But I want you to just be assured that many of these ideas we are implementing immediately. We got very excited about, and come the first day of school have really been implemented already. And some of them we're exploring to see, okay, when could that happen and what could take place with that. Another area that I just will pull out from this list right here is the real connection that we have with, for example, the Human Relations Commission. And they have an Embrace Civility campaign, I beg your pardon, that we have already participated in last year. And we did a great job at participating in it. But it was kind of last minute, and we kind of could have done a little bit of a better job as a school district. They weren't last minute. They were on top of it, of saying, okay, what do we want to do? And now we get to plan that ahead of time and really look at what is the best decision for each of our schools at each of the different grade levels, and really how can we include as many people as possible. I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Breggy for our last slide.
And we wanted you just transparently to see all of the information that was shared. As I mentioned, it started off with a higher ranking, and we are at the area where there was some interest of implementing school uniforms. And while that is something that we could possibly look at and possibly explore, at this time, we don't have that immediate data to be able to indicate that is something that we're going to do right now. There's a lot of resources being employed based on what you just heard tonight. And so that may be something that we look at again later. We really want to spend some time with the information that you shared. We want to get it right. We want to get feedback from you, from our parents, just from our community on how that's working. We don't want to take on too much, but we appreciate this idea coming in, and doesn't mean to say that that's not something we will pursue in the future. I do want to take this opportunity again to thank our panelists. This work has just begun. And certainly throughout the school year, we'll be looking and sharing with you to our board where we are with a lot of the implementation, the items that we're exploring. And I also want to put it out there too, is that we are taking a lot of risks here. But I feel like by sharing the problem, that we're all going to be able to come together to come to a solution, because this is the smartest group of people. I mean, not only here at home, our panelists with such great experience, this is solvable. But we can only do that if we do it together, and we do it transparently, and we share with you our progress. So it's not a one-time sharing. We're going to share this information with you in hopes that our data gets better and better, and the student behavior problems are less. So thank you very much for listening to our presentation. It was a lot of work from our panelists, so thank you for listening to where we are today with it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Breggy. Mrs. Marcus, I'm going to call on you first. See if you can get on there. There we go.
Yes, that's a lot of information to digest right now. And going over it as I have with you, Dr. Breggy, and with the panelists, it's going to be something that I will be watching very closely. I had hoped that this would have already been initiated at the start of the school year, although some of it had. But I am very hopeful that this plan will work. Of course, we'll find out more as the year goes along, as we monitor and enforce some of the behavior situations that we have. And hopefully that we will be able to look at ourselves and say, we have improved. And I'm looking forward to seeing the implementation of the plan. I'm very hopeful, and I want to thank you for your presentation, quite comprehensive, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you, Mrs. Marcus. Dr. Stern?
First of all, I really am very impressed that you guys pulled from a whole bunch of different, a wide swath of people in the community who know kids in different ways and different angles. And I think that that's very impressive in the way to approach this multi-pronged problem. And as I work with kids with behavior issues and kids in general, one thing we say, which I really like, is we're aiming for direction, not perfection, because it's an always evolving issue. And when you're working with behavior or behavior modification, there's a general direction, but it's not that you're going to be perfect just yet, and you aim for that. I also think that it's very prudent to look at the fact that mental health goes hand in hand with matters of discipline. So as we know, since the pandemic, we've had an acute increase in mental health difficulties with anxiety, depression, and things like that. And as many schools have risen to the call to support mental health, I think also discipline, I know, is also considerably more serious since the pandemic, but the two go hand in hand. And I think it's very appropriate that you have identified that, and that some of the consequences for kids who have misbehaved, I know there are some leaders who I've spoken to where not only is there a consequence such as suspension, but there's also some there's some sort of counseling that goes along with it, which is important, because they often say that a bully or someone who is a transgressor is someone who is also in pain, and that is something to take care of. I also want the general viewership to realize how lucky we are that we went about this in such an intelligent fashion, because I read recently, and it's hard to believe this, but Houston Public Schools, which I think is a very big public school system, recently decided, the school board decided to take all of the libraries, did you hear this, in the high schools?
Yes.
Take the libraries, get rid of them, and the librarians, or sorry, get rid of them as libraries and make them discipline centers. So here we are intellectually analyzing the problem, talking about it, sympathizing, understanding different scenarios, and yet this other school district just said, screw it, we're going to get rid of the libraries, the books, the librarians can go, and if you're misbehaving, off you go to the to be siloed in a room for discipline centers. So there's a continuum of ways to deal with this, and it's a very difficult and multi-layered problem because of all the factors involved. And there's also different ages. How you're going to deal with discipline for a 5-year-old is very different from a 16-year-old. So I recognize that problem. I also recognize the huge difficulty that leadership at schools face, given the problem with the social media and, of course, hunting down forensically who wrote this, whose account was this, whereas in the 70s and 80s, it was very clear, this person gave this person a black eye, end of story. It's not like that anymore. But again, I just commend you for going about this in an intelligent fashion, in a humanistic type of fashion, and using data and trying to be scientific and mindful about this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Manicherry.
Thank you. I really want to commend you, Dr. Breggy, for putting this panel together. I think you remember when my jaw dropped to the floor when you told us, the board, that you were going to create a 5-week seminar system, essentially, consisting of almost 30 people. But as the summer went on and you implemented it, and every week or 2 weeks you would share with us, hey, this went amazing. There was a lot of sharing, a lot of collaboration. It just became something that grew and grew. And I also checked in with some of the parents and community members, and they felt the exact same way about it, that it just brought the parent perspective, the administrative perspective, the community perspective all together. So I commend you for making that happen, and I am excited to hear about the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wells?
I agree, and I would like to commend you on this advisory committee. I think having such a diverse group of participants was really important in providing the information that has informed the decisions that you and presentation that you made today. I think that one of the things I find most interesting about this is the approach for the discipline, similar to what Dr. Stern was saying, how mental health and the behaviors really can go hand in hand, and to look at it in a really holistic way. And I'm really interested to hear more about the wraparound services that you were talking about. And I think that ties to, Laura, what you were saying about the alternatives for the discipline and how you see that being executed. And I know that we talked about a position for that, for a parent liaison that would be providing those wraparound services. And I would love to hear you talk about that a little bit tonight as well, because I think that's part of your next steps. And I really feel very strongly about that coming out of this advisory committee in terms of what will be really effective for us, and not having a discipline room, but actually having a very comprehensive, well thought out program that's providing wraparound services.
So I don't know if you want to jump in with this, but we know that it's providing the services that our kids and families need is critical. The example that I can give you with the student with the Century City experience, and that's a student that I met with Dr. Scahn in her office, and just to get to know the student. Like, there was a need in that household for services. So we were able to determine that. So that's super helpful to us, but also helpful to them. But there's also, an additional piece as well that goes on that is missing, and it's an outreach piece, and it's the parent outreach piece. And we heard that through our committee work, that was really important, is to have someone on our staff that can reach out and connect with the community. And that many school districts have that piece, so that's not unique to us, but we haven't had that ability to do that. And after this committee, we know that we need that outreach to happen, because it's not going to happen in just a communication. It needs to happen with somebody that's bringing in families. If behavior is going to be corrected, families need to be brought in together, not just an isolation of handling a discipline issue. So that's what that position is the expertise between providing the services that are required, but also that outreach piece. And that part's kind of unique to us. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to.
Can you talk about the alternative for the discipline and how you see that playing out?
In many ways. Do you want to do that? So I think that, and while I really appreciate your support tonight, I'm really going to appreciate your support if you start getting complaints that we're asking parents to come see your student in the educational environment. And it's happening. It's happening at BVMS. And because many students think that, they're in a place where, it's completely different from home. There's no connection here. We're really wanting to connect with our parents. So an alternative to suspension, there are some incidents that could be 3 or 4 days, but this is about providing options. So this may be that this is a suspendable incident, but we will look at, instead of a 3-day out of school, we may look at 1 day in school, but we want you to spend the entire day with your student, walking with them to classes and meeting their friends and having lunch and hanging out. So I appreciate your support. If any complaints come in. So do you want to say anything more about that?
Check.
Okay.
Sophia?
Okay, I want to echo my thanks to the panelists who all took their time and consideration in working on finding solutions to our mutually agreed upon communal problems with that multilateral perspective in mind. And I really look forward to seeing these take action in the community. One of my biggest questions is regarding the Neighborhood Watch program. I think that is a really, really unique and plausible solution and idea. And I'm wondering, as you mentioned, how you anticipate this program sort of existing, if not competing, with our pre-existing community-run group chats and Neighborhood Watch programs.
It's a great question, and that's something that we talked about as well. Right now, this is in collaborations because we want our city partners on board. Our intent is not to replace or confuse a message about safety, but this essentially is about safety. And so we want to be able to have the Chamber of Commerce and the police department and the city of Beverly Hills involved so that we can all agree upon what this looks like. Is this, again, our idea is to, have businesses that, kind of like with the Neighborhood Watch, you have, your homes that are involved and that are engaged. We'd like to see our businesses have that as well, and that becomes a very visual for our students as well if they see and we educate our students about what that means. This work is just launching, and so what you're seeing today is again an entire summer of work, and then us starting out the school year, and then you seeing kind of the first steps in this area. But I'm glad that you asked that, because I think that we need to involve our students as well, because students need to be aware of what the program is, what the expectations are. But also, I see nothing better than when we get that green light, is that we're working with our students to be going into our businesses and meeting our business owners.
I would really like to have you come back to the board as this continues and give us updates on the parts of this as they're getting implemented and how that's going and when it's happening in terms of it going out into the community and the parent community. And I'd love to also be able to get these presentations beforehand so we have a chance to look at them beforehand. It gives us more time to formulate our questions, because the work is so dense and you've put so much thinking behind it that I don't think it does justice for us to just briefly see this. There's so much work that you have done in so many different areas that we could talk about just one area for one presentation. So I think it's really fantastic, and I do also want to thank all of the members in our community that gave up their time and provided their points of view and information for the benefit of our students and our school community. I am indebted to you. It's really so meaningful that you answered the call and were so generous with your time and being forthcoming with information. And I've only heard positive feedbacks about how this program was run, the advisory committee, and in every way. So thank you very much for participating in your invaluable information that you have provided for us. And specifically, I see Ellie Samadi is here, and I just want to call you out, Ellie. I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing you, but you really did sound the alarm really early on and tried to put together a format for us to start having this conversation. And then Dr. Breggy just took it and really created this incredible advisory committee out of this, and you really took it to another level. So I think it really just shows when the community and the parents are involved and want to participate, what comes out of that. Because this advisory committee is exactly what we're talking about having parents participate and work together collaboratively to improve our community. So thank you for doing all of this great work.
You bet.
Thank you, colleagues. I echo their appreciation of the panel, anybody who volunteers their time for the district, like us, should be appreciated for that. I do want to be a little bit of a cynic here. Michael knows my feelings about this from the get-go. It's, as I sit here through the last, 45 minutes of this discussion and realize, wow, there's a huge chunk of time that the Brain Trust here is once again not talking about education, not talking about our mission and our vision. It's commonly known that boards and districts that do not focus on academic achievement and education do not reach it. It's not saying that discipline isn't a problem. Discipline is a problem. But the truth is, it's really the parent's problem. And what you've done an amazing job at is trying to figure out how to parent from behind a school. And that should not be the job of a school. It's sad, and we should be upset as parents in a community that it's even come to the fact that we needed to create a panel to address this issue in our community, because we used to not have to do that here. We used to have people with respect that cared about their education, that came to school to learn. And we should not have room for people who don't share that vision. There's plenty of other places they can go to school. Should invite them to go to school there. We need to set the bar here so we can focus on our mission and vision. And the more time that our staff spends on this panel, the less time they're doing this, because there's something called bandwidth, and people can only do so much. And they'll take whatever's the most important thing put in front of their immediate threat, but what that'll constantly do is keep us from reaching our goals. So I want to take that to heart as you move forward with this, and remember that you're only going to succeed if you have parent buy-in. If you really, really stress that this is a parenting issue. Discipline, student behavior is a parenting issue. It is nothing but that. Dealing with the consequences becomes a school issue, but behavior starts at home. And hopefully people will remember what I'm saying when our scores don't improve next year, because everybody is spending time on this. And we can't spend time in the classroom and focusing on what we are entrusted to do as a school district, and that is to educate, not to raise. So that's my final word on that. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Breggy. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Rebecca. We're going to move right into public comment, and then into the, like I said, I moved the public hearing to in front of that. So I'll start with public comment, 3 minutes. Nilu, would you like to start?
Hello, everyone. I must say I'm very relieved to hear today. After 10 years, I'm coming here often. If Tuesday meeting, just talk and go. It's relieving. It's comforting to hear that you guys are putting so much effort for these challenges, mental health, life skills. I have started these classes as a club because there was no other room or time. 10 years ago, exactly, I think 2012 or 13, when Mr. Jackson was the principal. And we had it since. Every week, we brought a counselor into the club to teaching the kids life skills, challenges that they don't know what to do with it. As Mr. Noah said, this started from home. Discipline. Parents should step in and take responsibility for their kids. Also, when the kids come to school, the school needs to take responsibility for these kids, for their education, for their well-being, for teaching them. I understand we have counselor and if the kids doesn't obey, they get suspended. And I'm glad to hear that you said, instead of that, let's give them the education that they need. Why are you suspended? What is your problem? As Mrs. Stern says, the kids who does bullying, these kids is sad and poor and
hurting
and alone. And by bringing another kids down, it feels more important and better, and I don't know, which we hear a lot of it. I get a phone call every day, if not one or two. I'm sick and tired, my kids are being bullied, I'm bringing it out, I'm taking it in the middle of the school, and she's just coming home, she doesn't want to go back, or I'm changing the school, or saying all those things, because we've been doing this for a long time. After I lost my kids to bullying, my 17 years old Bianca died because of anger, because of violence. She was too nice to say no, and she got killed by the hand of another teenager. We don't want this to happen to no other parents. I don't want this to. I started this organization because I don't want this thing happen to any other kid. This is my blood. This is my life, and I'm not doing this for nothing. I'm just doing this to help the kids. And I started at Beverly's High School because they went to school here from a rodeo to here.
Can you please wrap up your thoughts?
You're promising so much nice things. Bianca Foundation would like to collaborate with you guys. I'm here to help. Anything this organization can do for our kids, I'm here for you guys. We wanted to start with a middle school. I've been waiting for the past 4 years. Miss Marcus knows. Miss Mary knows, Miss Wells. And I've been talking to create, because when they come from middle school to high school, suddenly this is it's a big difference. And some of them are lost, some of them they don't know what to do, and there is a chaos at home. So I also want to say that we started Zoom classes right after when the school closed. So the kids would come in their pajama, on their bed, listening to our counselor and telling their concern. So, as I said, I want to collaborate with the school, with the Beverly Vista, with the high school, as we are doing it. We're having it as a club.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diana?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just hope it doesn't last more than 3 minutes. First of all, I'd like to say good afternoon to everybody, and I'd love to thank Nilu Khalili, who's the founder of Bianca Foundation, which is endeavouring to stem bullying at schools where it has become a very disturbing and dangerous epidemic. I faced this problem recently with a 7th grader whom I don't want to mention their name, she was coming home every day crying. Eventually I sat down to her and I asked her to tell me what is going on at school, and she had the courage to express herself openly about her experiences at a school in Beverly Hills. And thankfully we were able to discuss this with the school counsellor, who was absolutely amazing, and he advised us to have an open discussion with the parents who were who seemed to be unaware of what their child was doing at school, although she had already been suspended twice from the school. After this meeting, there was a big improvement, and I feel that now that it's come into the open, things are calming down tremendously. As you know, bullying is not a new concept. We read about this in the Old Testament. Cain and Abel, Joseph, and many other important people in the Bible were bullied, and eventually they either died or they became somebody famous. But it doesn't deter from the fact that our supposedly modern and civilized society is indeed a concerning issue which requires understanding. Why is there bullying in the first place? Well, I think it often occurs due to a combination of many different factors. One of the main reasons for bullying, in my opinion, is power and control over the others, as the bully tries to compensate for their lack of insecurities, which eventually lead to a lack of empathy, giving them a license to engage in hurtful and destructive behavior, both to others and eventually themselves. Although your child might not possess the traits to be a bully, a desire to fit in and to be accepted by a particular group can be a great incentive for them to be part of the in crowd. Another important factor is the home environment, where a child is experiencing violence, neglect, or inconsistent discipline, which usually contributes to bullying tendencies. Although I personally believe if a parent wishes to discipline their child, they are scared and afraid of the repercussions.
Please wrap up your thoughts.
From the police, especially in some extreme cases, I've heard a child can request to be removed from the home for good, and this is a frightening prospect for any parent. Last but not least is the curse of modern society, social media, which hasn't been mentioned today in this forum.
It will be.
I really have no idea how many hours a child sits on the phone watching nothing but nonsense on TikTok or other weird platforms. These videos, in my opinion, are having an adverse impact on children as well as society, as they spew out everything from violence, intolerance, religious hatred and jealousy, which obviously is the root of all evil. Just a side note, I wanted to confirm what I heard today. I heard recently students have created a site called Lollipop, and maybe you all know about it. The name actually sends chills through my body. On this site there are pictures of students are posted, and they are taunted and ridiculed. The school authorities are quite aware of this site, but I don't know how much power they have to bring it or to close it down. It is important to ask, how can society tackle bullying? Well, that is why we are here today, I believe. Parents have a very important role and responsibility by encouraging open discussions on kindness, respect, and accepting differences.
Can you please wrap up?
Yeah, but it's very important.
I know.
And to openly support their child if they are being bullied. 1 minute, don't bully me. Schools should communicate clear anti-bullying policies, ensuring all students, staff and parents are aware of the consequences for engaging in bullying behavior. Schools require a confidential system for students to report incidents of bullying, with a support system to help both bullies and victims, and this in turn will promote, hopefully, a positive school environment. It is important to involve the entire school community, including the teachers, the parents, our students, to tackle bullying. and hopefully together we can create a safe and nurturing environment for everyone to thrive in. Did you, by the way, turn off the microphone?
I did not.
Well, I hope not, because that will count as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Romy? Does the mic work?
Should I sing a tune? Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Good evening. First of all, I'm so happy I came to this particular meeting. Wow. Amazing progress. So many common threads, so many common themes about collaboration and parent partnership. So thank you to all of you for giving us this opportunity to really express that in other areas as well of education. So good evening. My name is Romeo Azevedo. I'm a proud BHUSD parent of an 11th grader and an 8th grader. I'm also a champion of BHUSD's vision for pathways, which is why I'm here today. There's one very special pathway that is most dear to my heart, which I personally know is also dear to yours. I know because each one of you will always find the time in your 15-hour workday to be in the audience, applaud, promote, praise, and even share your talents on the stage with some of our TK-12 performers like Mr. Margot and Dr. Breggy. You've all been on that stage. I am here today with several performing arts parents, Marnie Prysand and Alice Namadon. Little jazz hands for you. Okay. We are here because we're all driven by our excitement for our amazing program offerings and exceptional teachers, Mr. Smith. However, with heavy-hearted concern about the significant enrollment decline as the district continues to invest in refining existing and building new state-of-the-art performance facilities. With very few students filling dance, musical theater, and choir classes at Beverly High School, and insufficient interest in choir at BVMS, we need to understand the numbers. We need to work together to devise and support an enrollment growth plan in time for the opening of our theaters. Our incredible Assistant Superintendent Dustin Seaman and VAPA Coordinator Dana Finley have already provided us with the initial enrollment data that we've asked for to give us more insight, but we need to do more. Our appeal is not to increase your obvious love of the arts, nor its funding, but to prioritize performing arts enrollment growth solutions. Are we prepared with specific goals? Is there a district-wide plan to learn, promote, and grow? Although we parents love the attention our kids get in small classes, our district and our community needs to give more attention to the enrollment health of our performing arts programs. As a committed group of parents, we've already met several times. We're here and we're ready to offer our time, skills, and positive energy to serve and collaborate, but would like to request the board's support to do 3 things. And we, sitting here, are totally inspired by the committee, the advisory committee that was formed, and how much progress that you've made, how much collaboration and actual solutions with accountability. Oh, can I just finish really quick? As a committed, yes, really quickly.
I am not bullying you. I'm asking out of respect and time for everyone.
Well, created an official BHUSD VAPA committee made up of BHUSD parents and staff and community members. Identify a BHUSD administrator who can lead the committee with specific objectives, goals, and time deliverables. Review the VAPA committee plan and recommendation based on factual analysis, surveys, community-driven solutions at a future board meeting. We warmly welcome any input that you guys have to inspire community partnership, to reignite VAPA as one of the shiniest pillars in support of our BHUSD's mission to become a lighthouse district once again. Thank you for your time and your ongoing passion for the supporting the arts and this really essential pathway that cultivates excellence, the mission, excellence in our students. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Elena.
Good evening. I will be brief. Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Breggy. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I am Elena Castanon, and I am a STEM and science teacher at Beverly Vista Middle School, and I'm also president of Beverly Hills Education Association. I'm joined here tonight by just a few of my colleagues. Thank you all so much for coming. Some BHEA elected leaders and other recognized teachers and staff from around the district. BHEA represents the majority of our school district's employees. We are school office staff, IT specialists, and instructional assistants. We are school psychologists and school counselors, special education teachers, and classroom teachers. Every school day, we educate the students in Beverly Hills from preschool and TK all the way through high school AP coursework. We represent more than 350 employees here in BHUSD. It has been a few years since BHUSD and BHEA have engaged in bargaining, and we're here tonight to begin this process on a positive note with you. We're here because we all want the best in education for the students of Beverly Hills, and on behalf of BHEA, we are looking forward to what we hope will be a productive bargaining process. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Elena. So we have moved item 12 to now, so we are going to do the public hearing for the sunshine items. So bear with me as I go through these. Well, you guys are leaving for the good part, huh? Okay, the public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 proposed sunshine items between the Beverly Hills Unified School District and the certificated unit of the Beverly Hills Education Association is now open at 7:16. Government Code Section 3547 requires that all initial proposals for an exclusive representative of the public school employers which relate to matters within the scope of representation shall be presented at a public meeting of the public school employer and thereafter be a public record. The Beverly Hills Education Association Certificated Unit and District have agreed to sunshine the articles and appendices for the 2023-2024 collective bargaining session. Those articles are posted on the agenda for this evening. So we now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. Are there any comments? The Board of Education has heard your comments, or not so, and concerns, and we thank you very much for your input. Public hearing is now closed at 7:17. Thank you. We are sunshined with BHEA. Public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 proposed sunshine items between the Beverly Hills Unified School District and the Office Technical and Business Services Unit, OTBS, of the Beverly Hills Education Association is now open at 7:17. Government Code Section 3547 requires that all initial proposals of an exclusive representative of the public school employers which relate to matters within the scope of representation shall be presented at a public meeting of the public school employer and thereafter be a public record. The Beverly Hills Education Association Office Technical and Business Services Unit and District have agreed to sunshine the articles and appendices for the 2023-24 collective bargaining sessions. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. Crickets. Board of Education has heard your comments and concerns, and we thank you very much for your input. The public hearing is now closed at 7:18. I wonder if I sang these public hearings, if people would have stayed. The public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 proposed sunshine items between the Beverly Hills Unified School District and the Instructional Assistance Unit of the Beverly Hills Education Association is now open at 7:18. Government Code Section 3547 requires that all initial proposals of an exclusive representative, BHEA/IA, of the public school employers, which relate to matters within the scope of representation, shall be presented at a public meeting of the public school employer and therefore be a public record. The Beverly Hills Education Association Instructional Unit and District have agreed to sunshine the articles and appendices for the 2023-2024 collective bargaining sessions as posted on the agenda. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. The Board of Education has heard your comments and concerns, and we thank you very much for your input. The public hearing is now closed at 7:19. You go. The public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 proposed sunshine items between the Beverly Hills Unified School District and the CSEA unit of the California School Employees Association is now open at 7:19 p.m. Government Code Section 3547 requires that all initial proposals of an exclusive representative of the public school employers which relate to matters within the scope of representation shall be presented at a public meeting of the public school employer and thereafter be a public record. The California School Employers Association Chapter Number 328 Unit and District have agreed to sunshine the articles and appendices for the 2023-2024 collective bargaining sessions as posted on the agenda. We now invite members of the audience to address the Board of Education on the proposed articles. The Board of Education has heard your comments and concerns, and we thank you very much for your input. The public hearing is now closed at 7:20 p.m. Thank you very much. All units are now sunshined. Good luck in negotiations to all of us. Okay, moving back to the consent calendar. Dr. Stern, anybody pulling anything? Is anybody pulling consent? No. Okay, thank you very much. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Was that Dr. Stern and Mrs. Wells? Who approved? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, wait, sorry, my bad. Sorry, Ms. Kraushauer. It's the first thing we voted on. Forgot. I got a roll call. Mrs. Marcus isn't here. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt something? Yeah, I'll do it. I know she needs a roll call because she's not in the room. Mrs. Marcus?
Oh.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Mancheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Moving on, BHEF had pulled their report tonight upon their request. Sophia, Student Board Member report.
Okay. Oh my, it has been a very eventful 2 weeks so far. My bad. Thank you. Okay. Okay. As I was saying, it's been a very eventful 2 weeks so far here in the district on the student end. And let's just jump right into some of the activities we've had going on. Is it going to go next? Oh, okay, sure. Okay, first up, athletics. I've put these all together, but some of the highlights of our athletic teams in the district so far have been our girls volleyball team, which has been doing great. This is a photo of them playing an away game at Lusinger this past week, which they did very good in. Next up, we have a photo here from our football team's game against Whittier Christian, which also happens to be our middle school football night, which was preceded by a meeting of the football team and cheerleading teams at the middle school, as well as select ASB members who all went over to collaborate with the middle schoolers, introduce themselves, and work with the ASB in particular to get to know one another and really develop that pathway from middle school to high school and make it a blended experience for them. And then obviously the football game was a great success. We had great middle school turnout and a lot of spirit from the football team. And then at the bottom here, we have a photo from our cross-country meet this past weekend at Brentwood, where we had many people take home medals, and the team's just doing great overall. And I am excited to share more athletic updates from our teams as throughout the fall season. So yeah. Okay. Next up, as I mentioned in our last meeting, we had our BHHS Club Rush 2 weeks ago on Thursday the 14th. Students got the opportunity to preview clubs from over 70 clubs total, with many teachers, activities, and students present, and activities galore to choose and sample from. So, very successful day. So tragically, these photos are not showing for some reason. Literally under construction. That's perfect. And probably some of the most interesting ones I could have put up here, but as you are all aware, 2 weeks ago, I believe now, on Tuesday, we got to do a tour of El Rodeo and see the updates made in the construction. And I had to include this just because, as an El Rodeo alum myself, this was the highlight of my time since the last meeting and time on the board so far. It was so amazing to see all the progress they've made and like how they've really maintained the integrity of the building. And also I would like to mention an overwhelming positive community response from students from all schools, all grade levels, both graduated and current, who are all really excited to see how the building's coming together and sharing memories. So yeah, this was a real highlight. I might have to put these up on social media somewhere because these photos are too good not to see the light of day here. But yeah, that was the tour. Next up, we had the Hawthorne Fun Run on Wednesday the 20th, right after, I believe, the tour. We have obvious board member participation here present in these photos, and while I was not able to attend myself, I'm very, very happy to see the positive turnout, and I think this is a great tradition started, I believe, at El Rodeo back in the days, and that I hope to see continue throughout all our elementary schools. This is truly great fun. Okay, and lastly here we have next night from this past Saturday. I think everyone was in attendance at one point at next night. This was like so much applause to Next Beverly Hills, the city, and all of our district staff who went and managed our district booths. This event went off so successfully, I think. One of the biggest, I think, productions of Next Night we've had maybe ever, and just a great positive turnout from students and family alike. We see our Ferris wheel here, participation from the marching band, and yeah, this was it. Oh, and how could I fail to mention amazing performances from bands, including President Margot's The Tokens.
You can fail to mention that, it's okay.
Never. An absolute treat, and yeah, easily one of the highlights of our past month so far as a community. So that about wraps it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any comments? Mrs. Marcus?
Maybe it takes a second.
Okay, we can come back to her. Dr. Stern?
No comments. Just thank you as always.
Mrs. Manicherry?
I'm sorry, I muted myself. I want to thank Sophia for the lovely presentation. I love seeing the pictures. I'm sorry that I am not able to attend these events. I hope soon I will be able to. But I would like to visit something back again that happened at the beginning of the meeting, Noah, because I'm confused. And I would like to, when you get a chance, to call me back in, because I want to address something that I completely misunderstood, and I don't know what happened. So I'd like to be called back in if you can, if possible.
Okay. Mrs. Manicherry?
No comment. Thank you for your report.
Mrs. Wells?
No comment, but thank you. And it was fun taking the El Rodeo tour actually with you and seeing it through your eyes. So that was really fun for me.
One of the things you had in your photos was the drum line. And when the drum line, including Dr. Stern's wonderfully talented son, when they let all the kids come and play the instruments,
yeah, he had the
that was fabulous. I love that they did that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Sophia. I appreciate it. All right. We're going to move on to 13A. This is a public hearing and an approval. Is it Dustin, right? Public hearing first, approval second? Okay. So the public hearing on sufficiency of instructional materials is now open at 7:29 p.m. The Governing Board of the Beverly Hills Unified School District, in compliance with the Education Code Section 60119, is required to hold a public hearing on or before the 8th week of school that certify that each pupil in the district has sufficient textbooks or instructional materials in each subject area that are consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the State Board of Education. The public was invited to email their questions to Mr. Seaman. And have you received any comments or questions?
No comments, no questions.
Thank you. Board of Education has heard your comments, and we thank you very much for your input. Public hearing is now closed at 7:30 p.m. So now let's go to the approval of the resolution. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-2024-01, sufficiency of instructional materials.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Okay, Ms. Krausauer, can we call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Seaman. Okay,
Sophia?
Yes.
here you go. Moving on to business and finance. Need a motion for item A.
That you pulled, wasn't it? Oh,
No.
I'll make a motion
This
for
is 14A.
14. I'll make a motion to approve approval of agreement between the City of Beverly Hills and the Beverly Hills Unified School District for the provision, use, and maintenance of educational, recreational, and community facilities and programs for the fiscal years 2023 to 24, 2024 to 25, and 2025 to 26.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells. Thank you, Dr. Stern. Mr. Guzman is up there. Does anybody have any questions or comments? This is the JPA, which we are approving tonight. City Council will be approving next Tuesday at their next meeting. So if there's no comments or questions, we'll start with the roll. Go ahead.
Well, I'd love to hear from Mr. Guzman about it. Did you want to say anything?
Sure. We appreciate all the collaboration between our staff here at the district office and as well as the leadership of Dr. Breggy in negotiations, and our board was also there. Our board president, Mr. Noah Margot, Ms. Mary Wells, and of course Mr. Tim Ellis, Mr. Ken Haas, myself, and Mr. Mark Mead as well, Mr. Craig Bugby. It was a really interesting negotiations, and we were able to look at different areas. But I think the overall takeaway was that we left with a really good agreement with the city. We're also thankful of the city team, and just I think this is a really successful agreement. It went from 11.5 that it was kind of for 3 years, and now it's fiscal year 23-24 is at 13.7 million, and then it's going to grow in fiscal year 24-25 to 14.1, and the year after that to 14.5 million in fiscal year 25-26. So it's a really great negotiation all around, and so we're just looking forward to these next 3 years working with our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Anything else, colleagues?
Well, I'd also point out that in addition to that, the city is going to be providing 1.9 million to the district for CCTV cameras to support our security program, as well as partnering with us with our crossing guard program. So I think that the net result of this JPA agreement is really important for not just our school district, but for our community members, as we will be providing much safer and secure facilities and improved security, improved facilities as well for not just our students and families, but also for the community at large. And that we'll also be having secured site with our armed guards that continue on when anyone is at any of our school facilities. So I think this is a really fantastic program, and really happy for all of the work that the staff from our school district as well as with the city has put into this agreement, and I'm really looking forward to us moving on from this. Really fantastic. So great work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, colleagues? Okay, let's do the roll. Ms. Krause?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, everyone who put the time and effort into making that happen. Moving on to 14B. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion for the rejection of claim number 626889.
I will second that motion. Questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Krause-Harrell, please call the roll.
Ms. Lipson?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus?
Mrs. Marcus says yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to planning and facilities. Colleagues, I think I'll make a motion to table item A, 15A.
Can you read that, please, Marco? Noah?
Yes, 15A. I'd like to table item 15A, which is the approval on the amendment to HMC Architects for the additional work at El Rodeo.
I'll second.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any comments or questions?
I am curious to know why you would like to table that, just for my understanding.
My understanding is that we are still discussing the early education programs, and we are not committing yet to any work at El Rodeo. This is related to some of that work, and the board is doing some more research. So. Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry. Ms. Krause-Hauer.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus?
It's like Freaky Friday.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, thank you. Motion to table carries. We'll bring that back. Okay, item B.
I'll make a motion for approval of annual cost estimate with the Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, for regulatory oversight activities at El Rodeo School.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells and Dr. Stern. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, Ms. Krause-Harrell, please call the roll.
Ms. Lipson?
Yes.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Appreciate it. Item C.
I'll move for the approval of annual cost estimate with Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, for regulatory oversight activities at Beverly Hills High School.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments for that? Okay, Ms. Krause-Harrell, please call the roll.
Ms. Lipson?
Yes.
Yes.
Marcus? Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item D.
I'll make a motion for approval of Resolution 2023-2024-003, support of applications for eligibility determination and funding for the school facility program when bond authority is exhausted.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Any questions or comments? Ms. Krause-Harrell, please call the roll.
Ms. Lipson?
Yes.
Yes.
And Mrs. Marcus? Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Banacheri?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. Item E.
I'll make a motion for bond program policies and procedures manual update.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on that? Can you answer? Who? I had a question. Sorry, give me a moment to bring it up. I don't have. There was. I don't have the page. I had my notes somewhere on this, but there was something discussing the formation of an FCC again. I don't have the section. I want to say it was 5 or something like that. I'm wondering, is that something that we're entertaining doing?
Not at this time. I think we have it there just in the event that we need to form one, and that just kind of allows us to do that. But at this point in time, I don't think there's a real necessity for it. But in the future, it's good to have it in our policies in case we do need to form one.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues?
Then why don't we bring it up then when we need it?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Marquez, can you repeat that?
Yes, I'd like to know if we're approving it now and we don't need it, why, and for the future, why would we approve it now? Why not wait until we actually need it?
So, Mrs. Marcus, I was referring to the formation of a facilities construction committee. Right now, the item that's before you is the entire board policy, the entire manual for our bond program. So we went back and we worked with our Founder Solari team as well as Will Karat and myself. We looked at the existing bond procedures and we updated those procedures to fit where we're at now. The formation of a facilities construction committee is something that might be needed in the future. It might not be, but it's there so that we have that ability to do so.
Okay, anything else, colleagues? Ms. Kraushaar, please call the roll.
Yes, I'll try it a little differently. Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Ms. Lifson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Danachary?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, thank you very much for the update. And finally, item F.
I'll move for approval of rental agreement with Wallace Annenberg Center for the Beverly Hills High School dance concerts.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you for dealing with the Wallace to secure the space for our students. I appreciate that. We were hoping to have a space available, but we're not going to roll the dice on that one for this show, but hopefully for other springtime shows, we may have our own space. So looking forward to that as well. Okay. Ms. Kraushaar, please call the roll.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Ms. Lifson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Danachary?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to board policies 7000 series. We are adopting a first reading tonight, so we could always waive that and approve a second reading, but we also, if we have comments or corrections, we can do that at this time, unless there's a lot of comments and corrections.
Raphael, would you mind just letting the public know what the 7000 series is, just in general?
Sure, certainly. So the 7000 series really have to deal with our facilities. They encompass what our board policies are pertaining to facilities and various matters. For instance, in the formation of like or the approval of a bond, the different types of bonds. For example, there's a bond where you have to have 55% of the general vote population to approve it, when there's another type of bond that you need a higher threshold approval. So there's items like that. There's also like the facilities master plan. There's architectural and engineering services, site selection and development, financing, developer fees. All of those policies are contained within the 7000s.
Just a thought, is the policies that we just approved in the manual consistent with the policies that we're approving in this?
Yes, and the ones in the manual are more of like our day-to-day kind of procedure. It's more like a procedure manual more than a policy. These are our actual policies, but they do, marry each other. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this?
I think
I
Mrs.
have one.
Marcus. Yes.
Thank you.
I believe we were supposed to get a copy of the policies before the first reading? I don't know that I got a copy.
We did.
So we provided during a study session, we provided a binder. I don't know if you recall, Ms. Marcus. It was a white binder, and it had like the old policy and the new policy, and then the recommendation for which one to adopt. We went through a study session for those, and then we also posted it on the, with the agenda, and so it was posted for review as well. So, but if you recall, it's a binder. It's relatively a thin binder. It's not too thick of a binder. I don't know if you recall.
I don't know where I was, but I totally do not recall, unless I missed that session for whatever reason. Did you do it last week or 2 weeks ago?
No,
we did
a while ago.
We did it a while back. Perhaps it's, if you recall, we were the main focus was on in regards to bonds, like general obligation bonds, and why, for instance, 55% approval requires, a certain percentage of the board, whereas like the one for the other type of bond requires a different type of percentage of approval from the board.
I remember all that. Yeah. I remember that.
So that was the policy, that manual. So there was like a folder we gave, and it had the policies there. But it's, if you'd like, it's on the agenda, and it's like attached as well.
And this is only a first reading, folks, so we do have time, Mrs. Marcus, if you would like to...
Well, I would like to make sure that this is the first reading then.
This is the first reading. The motion on the floor is for the first reading only. We're not waiving the first reading tonight.
I understand. I don't want it to be... I'm letting it... No, I don't want it. Let's pass it up. That's what I don't want.
If I understand you correctly, Rochelle, what you're saying is you don't want to waive the first reading and approve this. Is that correct?
I can't hear you, Mary.
Are you saying that you do not want to waive the first reading? I'm not sure. Did you hear me, Mrs. Marcus?
Mr. Margo, we do need a motion.
I will vote for approve the first hearing only.
That's what I thought.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kraushauer. We will take the motion then for the first reading only, if someone could do that.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the board policy 7000.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stern and Mrs. Wells, my trusty dusty movers and seconders. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Kraushauer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Ms. Lifson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Panettiere?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margo?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously on the first reading only. Dr. Berge, I would turn to you and say there's still an opportunity for board members to bring comments to staff on this before we go to the second reading.
Absolutely.
Do we know when we would like to pass the second reading on this?
At the very next board meeting.
Okay, so colleagues,
October.
Please get your comments and questions to staff immediately on this if you have any changes. My understanding...
Noah, I'd like
Yes.
to make if someone could, I would like to have it in writing, and I don't remember getting it in a written, the pamphlet. If I could get a copy of the pamphlet, I would appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll send that to you electronically.
Absolutely.
No, I would like it.
Hard copy.
We will make a copy of that and drop that off for you,
Please.
Mrs. Marcus.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. Moving on to the approval of the strategic plan, 2023-2024.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the strategic plan 2023-2024.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stern and Mrs. Wells. I would preface this by saying it's been a long road to get to this moment. Both staff and the board has worked tirelessly in really scrutinizing the existing plan and making sure that it was rewritten to address real-time needs of our students and our community, our school community. I'm proud of the fact that This plan continues to hold all of us accountable in our student success. So I look forward to approving this and watching it continually evolve as it has done so.
Can I also just make a quick mention that I do owe the board kind of the timeline, so like what's happening next. So I will do that. Mr. Seaman and I have looked at some dates on when pieces of data will be available, but we will send that to you.
Okay.
I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Can I make a comment now?
Absolutely.
About this, please? I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
At the beginning of the meeting, Mr. President, Noah, you pulled several items that I could not understand. I didn't know what you were pulling because you changed the calendar and you pulled some items, and I didn't quickly realize what you were being pulled. At this time, I would like you to review what you were pulled, because I think I was not in agreement with one of them, but I didn't know that it had been pulled.
Mrs. Marcus, we have we have a motion on the floor that's not relevant to your question, which you can bring up. You're welcome to bring up during board comments. I'm happy to address that.
Okay, but I thought we had voted on this last.
No, we haven't. No, the strategic plan motion is still on the floor.
Okay.
So any other comments or questions about that?
Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Breggy and his team for participating in this, not just for this upcoming strategic plan, but for last year as well, and really committing to the plan and the updates that we had throughout the year. And as well, I look forward to watching this plan unfold as we go through this 23-24 year, and I look forward to getting those dates. If we could put a goal date for when we have approved that from the board as well, so that we're all in agreement on when those dates are, because I think it's really essential for us in terms of the accountability on this plan, which is everything as far as I'm concerned in terms of making certain that the plan works. So.
We can do like amendment to the strategic plan that has the dates in it after we agree on those dates, if that's acceptable.
That'd be great. Maybe we can have the next meeting as that goal.
Great.
That would be wonderful.
Sure.
As a date, just so we know
100%.
that we all are in agreement and can put it on our calendars.
Great.
Now. But I want to thank everybody because so much thought has gone into this, and really stretching to really take the district to the place that we want to be of educational excellence. So thank you all.
I have reviewed the strategic plan, and I think that it actually blows last year out of the water. I was not expecting it to be so meaningful and so robust and so detailed. Truthfully, I thought it was going to be like a 2023 version plus. And that's not what it is at all. It's very much in harmony with the new assessments and the assessment programming that we've got, the NWEA and the iReady. And it has tentacles, and it reaches everything, whether we're talking about attendance, absenteeism, social, emotional, catching the kids before they fall through the cracks. It is exceptionally detailed and thorough, and I'm really excited about it. And all I would say about it is if this board can help our admin and cabinet succeed better at implementing the strategic plan, I hope you will not hesitate to come to us, because I think we're more than happy to do that. So please just let us know how it's going, keep the lines of communication open, and I would say we as a board are here to assist all of you in the implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the strategic plan?
No, just one comment. I would like to compliment the committee and the board on making it timely by bringing in and addressing the new issues that face our school district in the strategic plan. It's just, it's a matter of keeping it timely, and I think that they did a good job of bringing up issues that are important in the district and putting them in there in the strategic plan and emphasizing them now at this time. So they are to be commended, along with all the changes that they made and the way that they are going to be able to evaluate the things on the strategic plan. I think that it's that we're going to keep up with it, and I want to commend them on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else, colleagues? Ms. Kraushauer, please call the roll.
Mrs. Marcus?
Yes.
Ms. Lifson?
Yes.
Mrs. Wells?
Yes.
Mrs. Manicherry?
Yes.
Dr. Stern?
Yes.
Mr. Margot?
Yes, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Dr. Breggy and staff. Okay, the next item for board discussion is something I asked to be on here. I was thinking about the, and people have mentioned it tonight, the absolute crisis of social media that is plaguing our kids. And I thought about implementing something in our district, which is not unlike what a lot of private schools do already on a daily basis, but I'm naming it No Phone November. And I'd like to pick a day in November where, outside of academic reasons in the high school, where I understand teachers do utilize the phones occasionally for educational purposes, that the phones are put away the entire day on campus. Just one day. I want to try one day. I want to see if kids will interact with each other, and it'll help people see that life does exist beyond the phone. So I wanted to bring that up with my colleagues to see if that's something where you're interested in moving forward with and trying an experiment of one day in November to give them time to plan for it and see if we can kind of introduce a mentality in our district that we maybe can be better than these devices. So, thoughts?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I think that it's an excellent idea. Common Sense Media is a source that I often go to as I try to understand the children I work with and the crisis with social media. And recently, Common Sense Media actually said that, and I like this quote that I think sums up some of your thoughts, which is that smartphones have become an always-on, sometimes disruptive force on the lives of young people. Because the industry has failed to offer young people better options for managing their smartphones, teens are working hard themselves to try to manage it and to set boundaries for themselves. And so I think that a lot of kids are actually grateful when it is imposed upon them. So I think it's I think on face value it's a good one. I certainly think that one day can certainly be manageable.
Thank you, Dr. Stern. I'll just go down this way.
Sure. I definitely appreciate the ethos behind it. I have done a little bit of my own empirical research, asking kids at the high school how it's going. And my understanding is that the policy that we did implement not too long ago has been going pretty well for the most part. I'm just trying to understand, is this something that you're looking to kind of have a day of where it's encouraged? Or are you trying to implement, put it away or you're going to get in trouble, No Phone November day? I'm just trying to understand, what are we talking about here?
I really don't want it to be punitive. I want it to be more of a social experiment. I really don't. I want to make it a challenge, right, for our kids. Can you do it? Can you put your phone away from 8 to 3, We certainly, society has advanced greatly without the use of cell phones. Before we got 2 cell phones, I think we can go to one day of school, 8 to 3, without the cell phone on. They can bring it so they can have it before and after school. But during school, I'd love for them to challenge themselves. And I would love to not to have to make it a punitive thing. I would love to have everybody think, yeah, let's try it. Let's see if we can do this. Let's connect. Let's show people we can do this. And then maybe we can adopt it once a month. And then maybe we can adopt it once, 1 week and then expand it. Will we eliminate it completely? No. But I think it's one of those things that sometimes, and like Dr. Stern said, students do like being told, put it away. That's it. Because I think in some small way, it's a relief for them that they don't have to be tied to the pressure of what it brings. So, when
for
kids,
sure, there are some kids who will probably steal off to go to the bathroom to look at their phone. They're smarter than us, I've learned. But
no, the fact that you said that maybe means we are aware of it. No, we are aware of it. And look, yeah, they're going to sneak off and do that, fine. But then they'll know they have to sneak off to do that.
Right,
and they're not rising. They're not rising to the challenge.
Yeah,
and the whole idea of that, which I keep pointing to because it's true, is to challenge yourself, right? You can't get to educational excellence unless we challenge themselves. This is a small social experiment on the way to that challenge. So,
I mean, I would say from a board perspective, if it's something that, for example, the students at the high school, the ASB wanted to promote or admin wanted to promote on a site level, it's something that I definitely would encourage and get behind. I just hesitate to do that from the board level. I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something that I necessarily want to spend our time on. But I understand what you're saying. I just think that we've done a lot, and it's been good. And I wouldn't mind moving on to the academics and other things that you mentioned earlier. But I agree with you. It's better to put them away.
So, and I would also do it in conjunction with the Bulldog and the Norman Aid Wellness Center. I would want them to be involved with the administration. It's a suggestion. I would say it would have to be up to them to do it, but it would just be something that we would kind of make the suggestion, say these elements should be involved, and bring it together and see how it works. So.
And then we have a party when we reunite with their phone.
Yeah.
No, missed you.
If we're already talking about a policy at Beverly Vista in which no phones during the day, at that point, this seems to be somewhat not necessary. It would seem to me that at the high school where they can have their phones out during non-instructional time, that might be more appropriate. But as I understand, right now, the policy at Beverly Vista is that the phones get put away and they're not out during the day.
Right. That's understood, Mrs. Marcus, and it was geared exactly to what you were saying, but it's still an awareness, so it would be a part of all of our schools, just so everybody would be aware of that it's happening on that particular day. But you are correct.
Thank you.
I have a similar feeling. I feel like we just approved the strategic plan. We've put a lot of initiatives in place that we're asking the schools to focus on. And I think a no phone any day is a great goal to have, like no meet Mondays, similar type of a thing. And I think it's great, and I think it can catch on. But I think at this point, because we've put the policy in place about the cell phone use, what I would like to see more of, suggesting that to ASB and or to your point, Norman Aid. And
Right.
then if the kids want to, for themselves, take that on and internalize that as their program, I would love to see that as something that, if the suggestion goes to them and they want to pick it up, that it's something that's driven by the kids and it's their program. I think that's a great thing to suggest, but I would love to see it really be generated and executed by the kids if that's something they really want to buy into, because I think then you're going to build that.
The buy-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I respond?
If they're interested, but I wouldn't want to mandate down.
Not my intention. Not my intention. That's why it's a discussion and not
right. But I like the
agenda
idea. I
voting
just feel
item.
like we put that whole cell phone policy into place. So to me, that would be like the next level. If ASB or the other students said, "This is great. Let's take it to another level," or add to that, would be wonderful. But I think it should be generated by them.
I don't know if I agree with that approach, only because I wouldn't want to have one group telling another group, or even have it emanating from them. What if the kids who are receiving them from ASB, and ASB traditionally more scholarly, more academic kids are saying that to other kids? I don't know if they're going to listen. I mean, it might work in reverse. Whereas if we across the board talk to say we're going to try this and this is what we're going to do, I feel like it would be better received than one group telling another group. The other group will sort of say, no, well, the schoolies or whatever I don't know. I've just seen dynamics like that go on that I don't know if.
Well, I think obviously administration's involved.
Yeah.
And obviously, I assume it's campus-wide. Would be ASB would fall into it. Bringing in Norman Aid, Bulldog Aid, and all that stuff adds the mental wellness aspect to it, which I think it needs. But like I would say, it is a suggestion, and I would just ask them to consider it. Consider the alliteration of the term No Phone November. That's why I'm bringing it up now, because No Phone February just doesn't sound as good. Right, and I'm going to get Sophie in a second. Just she's on her phone, so I'm kidding. Kidding.
Okay.
these are all good comments, but like I said, I'm not going to micromanage from here, so I would want them to take it on to themselves, look at it as a suggestion, just to kind of celebrate the everything that we have put into play as far as mental health and as far as our phone policy, and see if they can do it. Like I said, it's a challenge. Sophia, I'll go to you on this.
Sure. I reluctantly kind of love this idea. Yeah, no, I'm fully addicted to my phone. But like you said, I think that the ethos of this, because it's coming from an intrinsic place, or that's where we want it to come, sort of anti-punitive, I think that this is something that can be brought back into ASB that I will definitely float with them, but is something that should ultimately be run and distributed by the wellness programs we have, so Norman Aid and Bulldog Aid at both schools, just because I think it's the most genuine. They're the most genuine presences on campus in terms of mental health and what we're trying to get at here, that students won't, that there's the least threat of students rejecting in the way that they could an ASB authority or a board authority, which, yeah.
So then, with my colleague's permission, can we dutifully hand this over to Sophia and say, run with it?
Sure thing,
and see where it takes you, okay?
We'll hire security detail for it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, colleagues, and I wish it success. I hope we can show people that we can tune off.
And don't call me on that day, Noah. Don't be texting or calling me on that day.
No, my phone's off. I'll do it in solidarity, because then tenants won't call me, and I'll have
Rochelle
a much better day. Thank you very much. So that's going to take us over to meeting reports. We'll start. Did you have anything, Sophia? Anything else? Okay. Mrs. Marcus, do you have any meeting reports or communication from board members?
Oh, but she had her comment.
Mrs. Marcus? Thank you.
I'm sorry. I would like to talk about something and totally that came up tonight and something else, and I'm just throwing this out there as a concern that I have, and I it's been on my mind, and I'm just can't hold it in any longer. You pulled an item from the agenda tonight that I did not have a chance to realize what you were pulling when you pulled them. I did not get a chance to look at because I did not know what they were at the moment, and I realized afterward that you pulled something that I voted yes on, that I did not intend to vote yes on, and that was when you pulled 10J. So although I voted, I know there's no chance it can be rescinded. I do want to go on record that I was going to vote no, but I was caught unaware of what it was, and it came out so quickly that I didn't get a chance to vote the correct way, and that was on the item to pull a contract for Ellie Samadi, and I do apologize because I was intending to vote yes on it, and I was sorry that it was pulled, but I know it will come back, so I will get a chance to vote on it then. That's my
Are
first
we able
comment.
to amend the vote and wrap it up now?
No,
I cannot hear you. I can't hear people very well on this. I hear some of you very well and some I don't hear well.
Rochelle, this is Judy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I was suggesting that if we're able to amend and vote the other way now, then it would be a good idea to do so we can move on with our business. What are your thoughts on that?
I would be willing to make a motion to amend that, but I don't know if this is if I'm able to do it.
No, let me say, because it was removed from the agenda, it wasn't a tabled item, it was removed from the agenda. It can't be brought back into this agenda, but it will be at the next meeting. It will be on the agenda at the next meeting.
How can it be? I mean, anything can be undone through an amendment, so why? It's not
Because
like it
it's not-
disappeared into thin air,
Because
you
it's
know?
no longer in it, there's no space on the agenda to bring it back to. The agenda's already been approved without those items that we had taken off. So.
Well, in the future,
But
I
it will-
think I would like, when you read those, Noah, that we should know, you should say what the item is, because I totally was not ready for it, and it was pulled before I could even realize what I was voting for.
What's the basis for it
That's
that it
my
can't
fault.
come back?
I take that. Unfortunately, I'm at the meeting and I'm not at the meeting. So I just want you to know that I'm very upset by that, and I'm letting you know. Okay.
Okay.
No,
Duly noted.
But no, if she voted
Okay.
and she was not.
I have another issue.
Hold on, Rochelle.
Rochelle, if she voted and she's saying she
Judy,
didn't
you want
know-
to say something?
Just 1 second. Mary's making a comment, please.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Rochelle?
Can you speak directly into the microphone? You're the one person that I don't hear
you
well.
usually can't hear me. I'm sorry. I'll speak loudly. If you're
Okay.
saying that you voted on that item on the agenda, but you were not clear on what you were voting on, I'd like to understand why we cannot, knowing that she voted unknowingly and she was not informed when she made the vote. What are our options and steps that we can take when this occurs?
There's room for comments or questions when the motion is made to approve an agenda, which I had asked for. Are there any comments or questions? I mentioned the items by number and name to the item number. Rochelle made the suggestion in the future to read the items out fully. Good suggestion. Take that under consideration. But I did give, like any motion, I gave it its fair due. And since it's the agenda's approved already, we approved a working agenda. You can't add things because the agenda's already approved, and that would be
I'm not arguing with that. No,
right. No, I was explaining it to
What I'm
my colleagues.
suggesting,
I don't feel it was a fair because it was listed by 10J, which I was not yet familiar. I mean, and that mentioned a name. I didn't get a chance to really look at it to see what it was. And I know what I was going. If it had been there, I would have said no. And I don't know if that would have made a difference in the vote. I'm just saying I would have voted no. That's all I'm saying.
I guess what I'm trying to understand
Now
is
I want to talk about something else.
Given this situation, because as well she's on Zoom, so it's an unusual situation where she didn't understand what she was voting on. So I'm just curious what the protocol is in this situation.
The procedure, Robert's Rules of Orders, dictate that you cannot bring the vote back to the table. You can bring it to another agenda. You can't bring it back to this one.
But what if it was under the premise that she didn't know what she was voting for?
That's not a reason.
So she didn't really vote. She didn't know what she was voting for.
That's not a reason to disregard a vote.
I'd like to look into
all
that
I'm saying
for the
is that
future,
by not knowing what
especially
11 or
considering she's on
10J was at that moment, I didn't get a chance from where I'm at, and that I did not realize what it was. I would never have voted yes for that, and I'm just saying that, and I'm apologizing, and I'm telling you that I will make sure it comes back next time, and I will change and make sure that the vote is right. But in the future, I believe that if we're going to pull anything, we must tell people right off the bat what it is. 11J, 12B means nothing right off that bat. We sit down. I'd like to pull these items. I thought it was done quickly, and I was unable to keep up with what was going on there.
Okay, I announced the items. I wasn't speaking quickly at all, and I did give room for comments or questions before we took the vote. Rochelle, what else did you have?
Okay, this is another item that has been on the, and I'm bringing it up because it's something that I'm concerned about. As you know, I often am concerned about money and spending. It's part of my nature. On this particular, and I didn't pull it at the time because I didn't get a chance at the beginning to pull this item from the consent calendar, but I wanted to discuss it anyway because it's my time to speak. There was an item on the money, the
purchase order.
Yeah, the purchase order for $24,600 and some odd dollars for a leadership conference. And I looked at that and I thought, well, what was that? And I assumed that was, and I knew what I thought it was. It was the plan for the strategic plan for the administration to work on. But I thought that $24,000, $650, to go away and for hotels and food and things like that was a lot of money. Then I looked back at the previous purchase order, and there was $17,000 there for with U.S. Bank and it was listed as instructional conference or planning conference, and that now means $41,000 approximately. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a lot of money, and I don't know what it was spent on. I assume that there was hotel rooms and food, and I keep thinking to myself, why do they have to go to San Diego or to Palm Springs to plan these procedures when there are local places here that they can attend and do them here? And I just found that to be an exorbitant amount of money, and I'm making that statement, and I'm going on record that I think it's not the right thing to do. My comment.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Marcus. Okay, moving around to comments from board members.
Board member comments?
Yes. Mrs. Wells, did you have anything else?
I do. Sure. Today, Mrs. Wells and I attended the Recreation and Parks Commission meeting, and actually, I love those guys. It's a great group of, one is a former board member, two are BHUSD parents, one is a fellow, a couple are fellow Rotarians, and so on. It's great to be in their company, and they all care about the kids tremendously, the same way we do. And I just want to acknowledge the Recreations and Parks team, department, commission, and staff. They've done a heavy lift with the afternoon programming and meeting the needs of our families. And I have heard so many positive responses and reports from the families about the afternoon program being robust and helpful, and really it is what the families have been asking for. And so I just want to acknowledge them. That's what I was able to share with the Recs and Parks this afternoon, and they appreciated very much. And they also commended BHUSD on our spirit and our community involvement and the presence that we've had in the community recently, which is just inspiring a lot of folks. They didn't know that our numbers have gone up by 200 and things like that. And so I'm really glad that we've been going, and thank you for joining me. And, it just is, it was a pleasure, and I'll look forward to reporting on that meeting again next month.
Thank you very much, Judy. Mary, did you have anything?
And along those lines, it's really no surprise that when we go to things like Next Night and National Night Out, and we see all of our staff and representing our school district as a total district, it really makes the district shine, because people come out and they really celebrate and see this amazing school community that we have. And oftentimes I've talked to people that happen to be there not because they're part of the district and want to know more because they see this community and they see that positive energy. So the partnership is great because it's provided this opportunity for us to really show the whole district. And along the same lines, with Next Beverly Hills, Dr. Brady came and presented to Next Beverly Hills, and he gave a wonderful presentation on our school district. And I would suggest that you do that to other areas, because it was a really wonderful presentation. It's something that you could give to Rotary, to the other commissions. I think it really provides an opportunity for people to see that. Just like when we went to Rexham Park and we talk about what's happening with the school district, they learn about things they don't really typically hear every day. So that's a great opportunity for you to really show the district in total. So I would suggest that you do that, more of that, because it was really wonderful. And then as well, the JPA meeting that we had went really well, and we're going to be continuing on and hopefully seeing that get approved relatively soon. And another piece of feedback that we got from the Wrexham Park was they asked about pickleball and if we were going to be having pickleball, and the use of the fields, if there'll be more use of the fields. So we thought we'd wait till the the agreement is absolutely approved, and then allow that information to come out. But as well, it's on the agenda. But we thought we would wait and have that all revealed all at once. But thank you for all the hard work to make that available.
Thank you, Mrs. Wells. Dr. Stern?
So I'm wearing this hat. How many of you out there, there's not many here, but have know what's going on October 15th? Raise your hand.
Hey.
Okay. So we have a family in the Beverly Hills community who went through some untold horrors and really have risen to be people that I admire, and they are one of the most incredible families I've ever met. And they do this not only in honor of their son Mason, who was one of our students but who passed away from leukemia, but also they work tirelessly to raise funds for pediatric cancer, because one of the things they explained, which I thought was very interesting and sad, is that a lot of the treatments for kids, a lot of the treatments for cancer are really more suited for the adult body, and so kids go through an unbelievable amount of suffering using these very powerful medications, and they feel that through their efforts and through fundraising and solidarity, we can hopefully come up with better, more suitable ways to support and cure childhood cancer. So I really hope that everyone will join October 15th, and there are QR codes. I do have something that you could scan right now if you would like to register for October 15th, and there are also cards that have the QR code as well. So I really hope to see everyone there. An incredible family, an incredible little boy as well. In terms of meetings, I did attend the HRC, Human Relations Commission meeting, and one thing that they will be doing is in October, at the City Council meeting, they will give recognition of the, I cut off the actual name of the award, but Civility Award. Embrace Civility Award. And these people are chosen because they act as a role model of positive behavior. This individual takes a stand and supports and respects people and takes responsible actions, promotes being a positive neighbor. And this is a much coveted year. And also the HRC is looking forward to hopefully identifying another reading partnership because the one with Bonnie Gamus with Lessons in Chemistry was so phenomenal. And the HRC is acknowledging Anti-Hate Week, which will be November 12th through the 18th. So that's all I have. Thank you.
We should do our no phone. Thank you. That might be a good week for the no phone thing. Just saying. Okay. I want to thank KBEV. Thank you all for being here, lasting the night. It was wonderful to see everyone out at Next Night. I especially enjoyed seeing our madrigals, our drum line, and our theater students in character working up the crowd beforehand. It was an exciting event. I want to thank Mrs. Wells joining me in our JPA negotiations. We did secure the most robust JPA for this district to date. So we're thrilled about that. Hope everybody had a good holiday, and thank you all, and we will see you in October. Meeting adjourned.